Captain stood on the bridge of the luminous dawn and watched her world die. The screens showed 15 ships burning in the darkness of space. Just yesterday, there had been 65. The week before, 200. The swarm was winning and everyone knew it. "Captain, another distress signal from the Eastern Fleet," her communications officer said. His voice shook. "They're requesting immediate evacuation." Closed her eyes. There was nowhere to evacuate to. They had surrounded 3 of their colony worlds. The Confederation, 7 species living in peace for 5,000 years, was dying. They had never needed to be warriors. Their weapons were designed to disable, not destroy. Their tactics focused on minimal casualties. They believed in negotiation, in finding peaceful solutions. They believed in conquest. "How many ships do they have in the sector?" asked. "Over 400, Captain. Our weapons barely scratch their armor. They just keep coming." Looked at her crew. They were small, barely reaching 4 feet tall, with soft features and large eyes adapted for their gentle. They had evolved on a planet without predators, without violence. War was something they studied in ancient history, not something they lived. "Captain," her science officer spoke up, "I have been researching the old galactic archives. There might be another option." Turned to him. "What option? We've contacted every member of the Confederation. No one has weapons strong enough to fight the—" "Not the Confederation," the science officer said quietly. "There's a quarantined world, very far from here in a remote part of the galaxy. Every species that has observed it marks it as dangerous." "Dangerous how?" The science officer pulled up data on the main screen. "The planet is called Earth. It's listed as a gravity 30% higher than standard, extreme weather, tectonic instability, oceans covering most of the surface, filled with predators. The atmosphere has higher oxygen content than any inhabited world we know." "Why would we contact a dangerous world?" asked. "Because the inhabitants are also dangerous, Captain. They call themselves humans. Every probe we've sent to observe them shows the same thing. They are warriors. Their entire history is conflict. They have weapons we cannot even understand. And according to the files, they recently developed faster-than-light travel." Another officer spoke up, her voice worried. "Captain, the old records say that worlds should never be contacted. They mark humans as extremely volatile and aggressive." Looked back at the screens. Another ship exploded in silence. "We are facing extinction. If there's even a small chance they might help us, we have to try." "But Captain, what if they're worse than the—" "Then we'll already be dead and it won't matter," straightened her shoulders. "Send a message to Earth. Wide broadcast all frequencies. Tell them we need help. Tell them we face extinction. Ask them if they possess honor." The communications officer worked quickly. "Message sent, Captain, but Earth is very far away. Even with quantum communication, a response could take days. And if they decide to send ships—" "Then we pray they arrive in time," said. "And we pray they're willing to help instead of conquer." The next 3 days were the longest of life. They pushed harder. The fleet retreated to their last stronghold, a space station called Theta Station. Only 50 ships remained. Civilians evacuated to the inner colonies, but everyone knew those would fall too. It was only a matter of time. On the 4th day, the response came. "Captain, we're receiving a message from Earth." Rushed to the communication station. "What does it say?" The officer looked up, his face pale. "Just 4 sentences. Coordinates received, hold your position, relief force en route, we're coming." "That's all?" "Yes, Captain, but there's more. We're detecting faster-than-light signatures, multiple ships. They're already on their way." "Already, but that's impossible. Earth is weeks away, even at maximum FTL speed." The science officer checked his instruments. "Captain, these signatures, they're moving at speeds 40% faster than our best ships. I've never seen FTL drives this powerful." "How many ships?" 20 signatures. They'll arrive in 6 hours. The bridge went silent. 6 hours. The humans were sending only 20 ships. They had hundreds in the sector. Was this a token force? Were the humans underestimating the threat? Captain, her tactical officer said slowly, we should inform the Confederation Council. They need to know we contacted Earth. Nodded. When she sent the message to the council, the response was immediate and angry. The council leader, an elderly named Elder, appeared on her screen. Captain, do you understand what you've done? He said. Earth is quarantined for a reason. Every species that has studied them agrees they're too dangerous. We're facing extinction, Elder. I made a choice. You may have doomed us to a worse fate than the humans are predators, Captain. Apex predators from a nightmare world. They know nothing but violence. Then perhaps violence is what we need, said quietly. They don't respond to our peaceful ways. Maybe these humans can speak a language they understand. Elder's expression was sad. I hope you're right, Captain, because if you're wrong, we may have invited something worse than the swarm into our home. The connection ended. Returned to the bridge and waited. 6 hours, then 5, then 4. The crew prepared as best they could. They didn't know what to expect. The old records showed images of humans, but they seemed contradictory. Some showed humans laughing and creating art. Others showed them in combat, faces twisted in rage, using weapons of terrible power. With 1 hour remaining, the fleet detected the approaching signatures. 300 warships moved into attack formation, ready to destroy this new threat. Captain, the communications officer said, they are hailing us. They're asking who's coming. Tell them, said, that we called for help. The final minutes crawled by. Then, at exactly the predicted time, 20 ships dropped out of FTL speed at the edge of the system. The bridge crew stared at the screens in horror. The human ships were nothing like they expected. They weren't sleek or beautiful like vessels. They were angular and brutal, painted in strange, mottled patterns of gray and black. Every surface bristled with weapons, missile pods, rail guns, energy cannons, launch bays for smaller attack craft. The ships looked like they were designed for one single purpose, killing. By the stars, someone whispered, what have we done? A message came through. A human face appeared on the screen. He was tall, even sitting down could tell. His face was hard with visible scars. His eyes were forward-facing like a predator's eyes. His shoulders were broad and muscular. He looked like he could break it in half without effort. This is Commander of the United Earth ship Indomitable, the human said. His voice was deep and rough. You called for help. We're here. Show us the enemy. Found her voice, though it trembled. Commander, there are 300 ships in this sector. You only brought 20. Smiled, it was not a comforting expression. 20 is all we need. Send us their positions and tactical data. We'll handle this. But Commander, Captain interrupted, we traveled across the galaxy because you asked for help. Trust us. This is what we do. The connection shifted to show the human bridge. Saw other humans moving efficiently, checking weapons, running combat systems. One of them, a female officer, was actually smiling. She looked excited. Weapons hot, someone reported on the human ship. All systems green, Marines ready for boarding action. Good, said. Let's show these why you don't mess with humanity's friends. The human fleet began moving forward, accelerating toward the armada. 20 ships against 300. They watched in disbelief. The humans weren't running. They weren't calling for reinforcements. They were attacking. Realize the truth then, watching those brutal warships charge into battle. They hadn't called for help. They had called for something else entirely. They had called for monsters. And the monsters had answered. The Battle of Theta Station began exactly 4 minutes after the human fleet arrived. The confident in their numbers moved to surround the 20 human ships. It was a standard tactic that had worked for centuries. Overwhelming force. No escape. Complete destruction. The humans didn't try to escape. Captain watched from the luminous dawn as the human ship split into 4 groups. They moved with precision, but there was something strange about their formation. They weren't defensive. They were aggressive, moving toward the fleet instead of away from it. "What are they doing?" her tactical officer asked. "They're outnumbered 15 to 1. "I don't know," said, "but look at their weapons. They're all active." On the human flagship, Commander studied the tactical display. His officers gathered around him, faces calm and focused. One of them, Lieutenant, pointed at the screen. "They're bunching up," she said. "Classic encirclement formation, no dispersion at all." Another officer laughed. "Do they always fight like this?" "According to the data, yes," said. "They believe in overwhelming numbers and direct assault. No deception, no guerrilla tactics." Shook her head. "This will be easier than the training exercises." Nodded. "All ships execute pattern Delta 7. Lieutenant, you have tactical command of Battle Group 2. Remember, we're here to help not terrify them. Try to keep the war crimes to a minimum." Grinned. "No promises, sir." The fleet fired first. Hundreds of energy beams and missiles streaked toward the human ships. The watching expected to see the humans destroyed immediately. Instead, the human ships dodged, not with slow, calculated movements, but with violent, sharp turns that seemed to ignore physics. Their maneuvering thrusters fired in patterns that looked almost random but were terrifyingly effective. 90% of the weapons missed completely. The remaining 10% hit human shields that flared bright blue and held. Not a single human ship took damage. Then the humans fired back. Had never seen weapons like these. The human ships launched missiles that split into dozens of smaller warheads. Each warhead tracked a different target, moving with impossible speed and agility. When they hit, the explosions were massive, far more powerful than weapons. "Those are nuclear devices," the science officer said, his voice shocked. "They're using atomic weapons in space combat." "That's illegal under Confederation law," another officer said. "Humans aren't part of the Confederation," said quietly. "They have their own laws." The missiles were just the beginning. The human ships also fired what their data called rail guns. Metal slugs accelerated to incredible speeds using magnetic force. When they hit shields, they punched straight through. Ships that had withstood fire for hours died in seconds to human kinetic weapons. But what truly horrified them was something the humans called cluster munitions. Containers that broke apart and scattered thousands of small explosive devices across space. Fighters that flew through these fields simply ceased to exist, torn apart by overlapping explosions. "By the stars," whispered, "they're not fighting, they're slaughtering." In the first 10 minutes, the humans destroyed 80 ships. The fleet, shocked by the losses, tried to adapt. They spread out, attempting to surround the human ships from multiple angles. The humans adapted faster. "Battle Group 3, execute boarding action," ordered. "Sergeant, you're cleared for hostile engagement." "Affirmative, Commander," a new voice responded. "Marines are ready." They watched as several human ships accelerated directly toward the largest vessels. They weren't firing. They were ramming. No, not ramming. At the last second, the human ships released small pods that attached to the hulls like parasites. "What are those?" asked. Her tactical officer checked the sensors. "Boarding pods, there. They're sending soldiers onto ships." "That's suicide. That will kill them." But that didn't kill them. The humans were inside the enemy ships, and something terrible was happening. The sensors picked up weapons fire, explosions, and screaming. Actual screaming on the communication channels. Sergeant led his squad through the corridors of the warship. His powered armor made him nearly 7 feet tall, covered in heavy metal plates that could stop most weapons. His squad moved behind him, weapons ready. A group of soldiers appeared around a corner, firing energy weapons. The blasts hit armor and scorched the surface but didn't penetrate. He raised his weapon, something humans called a shotgun, and fired. The soldiers fell. "Keep moving," ordered. "Engineering section is 3 levels down. We take their reactor, we take their ship." His squad fought through the corridors. They tried to stop them, but human weapons were devastating at close range. More importantly, the humans simply didn't stop. A soldier shot one Marine 3 times. The human staggered, injected himself with something from his armor's medical system, and kept fighting. "What are they made of?" a commander screamed over the communication channel. "They won't die." Back on the luminous dawn, Captain listened to the communications in horror. The enemy fleet was panicking. Ships tried to retreat, but human vessels pursued them. There was no mercy, no quarter given. The humans fought like machines, efficient and brutal. Another group of human ships, led by Lieutenant, executed what she called a false retreat. They appeared to run from a group of vessels, leading them away from the main fleet. They followed, thinking they had found weak prey. Instead, they flew into a trap. Hidden human ships appeared from behind asteroids and debris, surrounding them completely. In less than 2 minutes, 40 ships were destroyed. "This isn't warfare," tactical officer said. This is hunting." "Yes," agreed, "and we're watching apex predators at work." The battle continued for 4 hours. Despite their numbers, couldn't adapt to human tactics. The humans used deception, ambushes, overwhelming firepower, and brutal close combat. They targeted command ships first, disrupting communications. They used the debris from destroyed ships as cover. They even hacked into systems and turned some of their automated defenses against them. When Sergeant's squad reached the reactor room of their target ship, he placed explosive charges and calmly gave the crew 5 minutes to evacuate. Most of them didn't believe him and stayed. And his Marines left the ship, returned to their boarding pod, and detonated the charges. The warship exploded from the inside. "Target destroyed," reported. "Moving to next objective." "Negative, Sergeant," Commander responded. "The battle is over." Checked his tactical display. Of the 300 ships, only 27 remained. They were fleeing at maximum speed, their formation broken, their will to fight gone. "Shall we pursue?" Commander asked. "No," said. "Let them run. Let them tell their leaders what happened here." The human fleet regrouped near Theta Station. 6 human ships showed damage, but all were still functional. Not a single human ship had been destroyed. The deck of the Indomitable was celebrating, Marines and crew members laughing and congratulating each other. Captain received a communication request from Commander. She accepted it, her hands shaking slightly. His face appeared on the screen. He looked calm, not even breathing hard. "Captain, the immediate threat has been neutralized. Your station is secure." "Commander, you destroyed 273 ships in 4 hours." "Yes, was that insufficient? Should we have pursued the survivors?" "No, Commander, your tactics, the weapons you used, the violence, we've never seen anything like it." His expression became serious. "Captain, you called us for help against an enemy trying to exterminate your people. Did you expect us to ask them nicely to stop?" "I don't know what I expected," admitted, "but not this. We fight to win, Captain. When someone threatens our friends, when someone tries to commit genocide, we don't hold back. We use every weapon, every tactic, everything we've learned in 10,000 years of human warfare." He paused. "I'm sorry if that frightens you, but you're alive and they are running. That was the goal. May we send medical teams to help your wounded?" "That would be appreciated. Fair warning, Captain. Humans heal differently than you do. Our injuries might look worse than they are." Ended the communication and ordered medical teams to prepare. Her science officer approached her. "Captain, I've been analyzing the battle data. The humans took casualties, but none of them died. Some injuries should have been fatal." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that humans are more durable than any species we've encountered. They can survive damage that would kill us 10 times over. It's like they're designed to absorb punishment and keep fighting. Looked at the human ships on her screen. Brutal, efficient, unstoppable. We asked for help, she said quietly. We got monsters instead, and those monsters just saved our lives. Medical officer had seen many injuries in her career, but nothing prepared her for the human. She stood at the entrance of the Indomitable's medical section, frozen in shock. The wounded humans were laughing. Sergeant sat on a medical bed with his left arm completely severed at the shoulder. The limb was gone, destroyed in the battle. He should have been in agony, possibly dying from shock. Instead, he was joking with another Marine about getting an upgrade and arguing about whether he should get a mechanical replacement or a biological one. "I'm telling you mechanical is better," the other Marine said. He was missing his right leg. "You can install tools, built-in weapons. My new leg is going to have a hidden blade." "That's stupid," said, wincing as a medic injected something into his shoulder. "Biological grows back, feels natural. Takes 6 months to grow. Mechanical takes 3 days." Approached slowly, her medical kit clutched in her trembling hands. A human medic noticed her and smiled. "Can I help you?" "I'm medical officer from the Luminous Dawn. We came to offer assistance with your wounded." The human medic looked around the room. "That's very kind, but we're managing okay. Most of these injuries aren't serious." Stared at him. "Not serious. That soldier is missing an arm." "Yes, pretty upset about that. He really liked that arm, but he'll get a new one. Meanwhile, he's stable, no risk of death." "How is he not dying from blood loss?" The medic gestured to a device attached to shoulder. Auto tourniquet deployed immediately after the injury. Combat stimulants keep him conscious and functional. His body is already starting to clot and seal the wound. Humans are pretty resilient. Moved through the in a daze. She saw burns covering 30% of one soldier's body. The soldier was awake, refusing sedation, talking about getting back to duty soon. Another human had a piece of metal embedded in his chest, inches from his heart. He was calmly eating a meal while waiting for surgery. She found Lieutenant sitting up in a bed, her face and arms covered in burns. The skin was red and blistered, painful just to look at, but was reviewing tactical data on a tablet, already planning the next engagement. "Excuse me," said quietly. "I'm a doctor. May I examine your injuries?" Looked up and smiled. The smile pulled at her burned skin, but she didn't flinch. "Sure, Doc, though I'm fine, just some burns. I've had worse." Carefully scans injuries. The burns were severe, 2nd and 3rd degree in places. These would be potentially fatal. "You should be in terrible pain." "Oh, I am," said cheerfully. "It hurts like hell, but pain is just information. It tells me I'm injured, but I'm still functional. The medics gave me something to take the edge off, but I need to stay alert." "Your species can simply ignore pain." "Not ignore. We feel it. We just don't let it stop us." Set down the tablet. "Doctor, right? Can I ask you something? How did your people survive before developing technology?" "We didn't have many threats on no large predators. Our planet was peaceful." Nodded slowly. "Earth isn't peaceful. We had to fight for everything. Food, water, shelter, survival. We evolved to endure injuries because if you couldn't keep moving after getting hurt, you died. The humans who could push through pain, who could keep fighting despite wounds, they survived and passed on their genes." "That sounds horrific." "It was, it still is sometimes, but it made us tough. It made us survivors." Looked at her burned hands. "These will heal in a few weeks. I'll have some scars, but scars are just proof you survived something difficult." Left the deeply disturbed. She returned to the Luminous Dawn and reported to Captain. "Their entire approach to injury is different from ours," said. "They expect to be hurt. They plan for it. Their medical technology is advanced, but it's designed around the assumption that soldiers will take massive damage and need to keep fighting." "What kind of world creates people like that?" wondered. "I can answer that," said her science officer. He brought up data on the main screen. "I've been studying the information the humans shared about Earth. Captain, their planet is a nightmare by our standards." The screen showed images of Earth. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. It looked beautiful until the science officer showed the details. Gravity is 30% higher than our standard. Their atmosphere has 21% oxygen, enough to cause fires to burn incredibly hot and fast. The planet has massive weather systems, hurricanes, tornadoes, tsunamis, events that can destroy entire cities. More images appeared, volcanoes erupting, earthquakes splitting the ground, floods washing away buildings. Their planet is geologically active, tectonic plates constantly moving, causing earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. The oceans have storms so powerful they can sink the largest ships, and that's just the environment. The screen shifted to show Earth's wildlife, creatures with fangs and claws, predators of all sizes. Earth has predators everywhere. In the oceans, sharks, killer whales, giant squid. On land, bears, tigers, lions, wolves. In the air, eagles that can kill prey their own size, venomous snakes and spiders, parasites, diseases. Humans evolved surrounded by things trying to kill them. Stared at the images. How did they survive? They became better predators than anything else on their planet. They learned to hunt in groups, to use tools, to plan and strategize. They became persistent hunters, chasing prey for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. They developed the ability to eat almost anything, survive in almost any climate, heal from terrible wounds. But they also developed kindness, said quietly. I saw it in they care for each other. They joke and laugh even when injured. They're not just monsters. The science officer nodded. True, humans are contradictions. They're capable of terrible violence but also incredible compassion. They'll fight to the death to protect their friends, but they also create art and music and literature. Captain requested a meeting with Commander. When his face appeared on the screen, she spoke carefully. Commander, we're grateful for your help, but we need to understand. Your species is very different from ours. Your approach to combat is, she struggled for words. Brutal, suggested, violent, excessive. All of those things. Leaned back in his chair. Captain, may I show you something? He transferred a file to her computer. This is a brief history of humanity. Opened the file. It showed human history over thousands of years, endless wars, empires rising and falling, weapons becoming more deadly, millions dead in conflicts. But there was more. Between the wars were periods of peace. Art, science, philosophy, humans building, creating, reaching for the stars. We've been fighting since we discovered fire, said. We've fought over land, resources, ideas, religion, politics. We've created weapons that can destroy our entire planet. We came very close to extinction several times. Then why did you answer our call? Asked. Why help us? Because we also learned something else. We learned that the strong should protect the weak. We learned that when someone calls for help, you answer. We learned that some things are worth fighting for. The expression became intense. They are trying to exterminate your people. That's genocide. On Earth, we have a saying, never again. We decided, after our worst wars, that we would never allow genocide to happen if we could stop it. So you fight because of morality. We fight because it's right, but we also fight because we're good at it. Captain, you're a peaceful species. That's admirable, but the galaxy has predators like someone needs to stand against them. And humans are willing to be that someone. Yes, we've been predators and prey, we know both sides. We choose to use our skills to protect others now. Paused. I know we frighten you. Our methods are harsh, but they're effective. Your people are safe because we were willing to do what you couldn't. Thought about this for a long moment. Commander, what happens now? Will they return? Probably. They don't give up easily, but they'll think twice before attacking again. They know humans are protecting you now. How long will you stay? As long as you need us. We'll help train your forces, upgrade your defenses. We'll teach you how to fight if you're willing to learn. Learn to be like you. No, learn to survive. There's a difference, smiled slightly. You don't have to become warriors, Captain, but you need to be able to defend yourselves. The galaxy is a dangerous place. After the communication ended, sat in her quarters thinking. The humans were terrifying, yes. Their capacity for violence was beyond anything they had imagined, but they were also here by choice, helping strangers across the galaxy. She accessed the human database they had shared, information about Earth, human culture, their history. She read about their wars, but also their art, their weapons, but also their medicine, their violence, but also their compassion. Humans were contradictions, monsters who wrote poetry, warriors who loved music, killers who would die to save others. They had called for help, and Earth had answered with monsters. But maybe, thought, those monsters were exactly what the galaxy needed. 2 weeks after the Battle of Theta Station, the fleet gathered for their first training session with the humans. Captain watched as Commander addressed a room full of officers. They all looked nervous, their large eyes fixed on the tall human. War is deception, began. Your current tactics rely on superior technology and logical formations. That works when facing an equal opponent. Against it fails because they have more ships than you. An officer raised his hand. But shouldn't warfare be honorable? Direct engagement, minimal casualties. His expression hardened. Honor doesn't matter when you're dead. They don't care about honor. They want to exterminate you. You need to fight to win, not fight to feel good about yourselves. Lieutenant stepped forward. Her burns had healed quickly, leaving only faint scars. Let me put it simply. If someone breaks into your home to kill your family, do you offer them tea and ask them to leave? Or do you do whatever it takes to stop them? The room went silent. Exactly, continued. They are in your home, they're killing your families. It's time to stop being polite. The training began. The humans taught the tactics they had never considered. Ambush techniques, how to use asteroids and debris for cover, false retreats to lure enemies into traps, psychological warfare, hit-and-run attacks. Captain participated in simulated battles. At first, she followed standard doctrine. Her simulated fleet was destroyed every time. Then she tried human tactics, deception, unpredictability, targeting command ships first. Suddenly, her simulated fleet started winning. It feels wrong, she told Commander after one session, like we're cheating. There's no cheating in survival, replied. There's only winning and dying. They won't complain about your tactics if you defeat them. They'll just be dead. Sergeant, now sporting a new mechanical arm, worked with Marines. The small alien struggled with the physical demands of combat training, but was patient. You're not built for close combat, he told them. You're smaller, lighter, more fragile, so don't fight fair. Use weapons that give you range. Use traps. Use your intelligence to outsmart enemies, not outfight them. One young Marine asked, how do you do it? How do you charge into battle knowing you might die? Thought for a moment. We all die eventually. The question is whether your death means something. If I die protecting innocent people, that's a good death. Better than dying old and comfortable while others suffer. The training continued for weeks. They learned quickly. Their minds were sharp, excellent at strategy and planning. They just needed to think differently, to stop seeing war as a logical equation and start seeing it as survival. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, the Empire was planning their response. Studied reports from the Battle of Theta Station with growing rage. His fleet had been humiliated by a mere 20 ships from an unknown species. These humans, he growled to his advisors, what do we know about them? Very little. They come from a quarantined world. No major galactic power has contacted them before. Their technology is crude but effective. Their tactics are unusual. Unusual how? They don't follow standard warfare protocols. They use deception, ambushes, weapons that most species consider too brutal. They fight without honor. Slammed his fist on the table. Then we'll crush them with overwhelming force. How many ships can we assemble? 5,000 warships, our largest fleet. Good, we'll destroy the humans and the Together. Send the entire fleet to Theta Station. I want nothing left alive. Back at Theta Station, human intelligence detected the fleet movement. Commander gathered his senior officers for an emergency meeting. Lieutenant, sergeant, corporal, and others crowded around the tactical display. 5,000 ships, said. That's actually impressive. They're taking us seriously now. Too seriously, said. We can't fight that many even with support. They'll overwhelm us through sheer numbers. So we retreat, asked. No, we adapt, manipulated the display showing the galaxy map. The is here. Most of their fleet is heading to Theta Station. That leaves their home territory lightly defended. The officers stared at him, spoke first. You want to attack there while their fleet is away? Yes, it's what they least expect. They think we'll defend Theta Station. Instead, we strike at their heart. That's a suicide mission, said, but she was smiling. I love it. Turned to his officers. I need volunteers. This will be dangerous. We'll be deep in enemy territory with no support. If things go wrong, there's no rescue. Every officer in the room raised their hand. Of course you did, said with a slight smile. All right, we'll split our forces. Sergeant, you'll command the defense of Theta Station. Take most of our fleet and all the ships. Hold as long as you can. Understood, sir, and you? I'm taking 10 ships and 50 volunteers. We're going to visit thee and teach them about consequences. Captain was shocked when explained the plan. Commander, this is insane. You'll be killed. Possibly, but if we succeed, we end this war. We'll negotiate rather than risk there. And if you fail? Then at least we tried something bold. Better than sitting here waiting to be overwhelmed. Looked at the human commander. He was calm, confident, ready to fly into certain death for people he barely knew. Why are you doing this? You could leave, return to Earth. This isn't your war. You made it our war when you called for help, said. We don't abandon our friends, Captain. That's not who we are. The next day, the human fleet divided. Sergeant took command of 10 warships and the fleet. They prepared defensive positions around Theta Station, using every tactic the humans had taught them. Commander selected his volunteers. Lieutenant immediately signed up, so did Corporal and dozens of others. They loaded their 10 ships with every weapon they could carry: nuclear missiles, kinetic weapons, cyber warfare equipment, Marines with enough firepower to level cities. Before they left, addressed the council one final time. We're going to do something very dangerous, he told them. We're going to make thee understand what happens when you threaten humanity's friends. We might not come back, but if we do, this war will be over. Elder, who had once criticized for contacting Earth, spoke quietly. Commander, we owe you everything. Your people have shown us more courage than we knew existed. Whatever happens, we'll remember. Don't remember us, said. Remember what we taught you. Be strong, protect yourselves, never give up. The small human fleet departed, heading deep into territory. They moved quietly, using stealth technology, disguising their ships as space debris or civilian transports. They hacked into communication networks, learning patrol routes and defense positions. 10 ships against an empire, 50 humans against billions of. This is going to be fun, Lieutenant said as they approached the border. Or suicidal, Corporal added. Same thing, said. He activated the fleet communication channel. All ships, this is Commander. We're about to do something that will either end this war or get us all killed. Either way, it's been an honor serving with you. Sir, interrupted, We're detecting border patrols ahead. Time to go to work, said. Remember the plan, we're not here to fight fair, we're here to win. The human ships slipped past the border patrols, invisible in the vast darkness of space. They were hunters now, moving through enemy territory with a singular goal. They had brought the fight to peaceful species. Now humanity was bringing the fight to them, and they were about to learn a terrible lesson: never threaten Earth's friends. Because Earth doesn't send negotiators, Earth sends monsters. And monsters don't negotiate. The OV Prime appeared on the tactical display, a beautiful planet with purple oceans and red continents. 3 billion lived there, unaware that 10 human ships were approaching from the dark. Commander studied the planet's defenses. 100 warships in orbit, planetary shields, defense satellites, missile batteries. Under normal circumstances, this would be impossible to attack. But humans didn't fight under normal circumstances. Status report ordered. Lieutenant checked her instruments. We're in position. Cyber warfare teams are ready. Marines are standing by. All ships report green status. Good, Corporal, are the disguises working? Nodded. Yes, sir. We're broadcasting identification codes. They think we're civilian transports returning from the outer colonies. Allowed himself a small smile. They had never learned to expect deception. They fought with honor with direct tactics. That was their weakness. Begin Phase 1, commanded. The human ships split up, each moving toward different orbital positions. They continued broadcasting civilian codes, requesting docking permission. The defense fleet paid them no attention, just more transports, nothing dangerous. When all 10 ships were in position, gave the order, execute. Simultaneously, all 10 ships dropped their disguises and activated their weapons. Missiles launched toward the defense satellites. Cyber warfare teams unleashed digital attacks on the planetary shields. The defense fleet scrambled to respond, but they were too slow. In 60 seconds, half the defense satellites were destroyed. The planetary shields flickered and died, victims of human-computer viruses. The fleet tried to engage, but human ships were already moving, using the planet itself as cover. Broadcasting on all frequencies, reported. She activated the planet-wide transmission. Her face, still marked with scars from the Battle of Theta Station, appeared on every screen across Prime. She spoke in perfect, her voice calm and cold. People of We Are Humanity, your leaders sent your fleet to exterminate our friends. They thought they could commit genocide without consequences. They were wrong. On the planet below, billions of watched in horror as human ships began precise strikes on military targets. Weapons factories exploded. Military command centers were destroyed. Army bases were reduced to rubble. We are not here to kill civilians, continued. We are here to deliver a message. Your fleet is currently attacking Theta Station. If they do not withdraw immediately, we will turn you into a tomb. You have 1 hour to recall your fleet. The transmission ended. Across Prime, panic spread. Civilians flooded communication channels, demanding their government recall the fleet. The High Command watched their being systematically dismantled by just 10 ships. At Theta Station, the battle had already begun. 5,000 ships attacked the combined human and defense force. Sergeant commanded the defense from the bridge of his ship. They're coming in waves, his tactical officer reported. Standard overwhelming force tactics. Then we don't play standard, said. All ships execute pattern Alpha 7, remember your training. The ships, now fighting with human tactics, didn't hold their ground. They retreated, drawing them into a prepared kill zone. When the enemy fleet advanced, they found themselves surrounded by automated weapons platforms, floating mines, and human ships attacking from unexpected angles. Captain commanded the luminous dawn with new confidence. She used deception, feigned weakness, led ships into traps. Her crew, once peaceful and gentle, fought with determination. They weren't warriors by nature, but they had learned from the best. The battle was brutal. They had numbers but the humans and had tactics. Ships exploded on both sides, space filled with debris and fire. Then, in the middle of the battle, every ship received an emergency transmission from there. The recording showed human ships destroying military targets on Prime. It showed Lieutenant's face delivering her ultimatum. The fleet hesitated. Continue the attack and risk there, or retreat and save their planet. Stared at the transmission in disbelief. This is impossible. How did they reach Prime? His advisors had no answer. The humans had done what no species in galactic history had managed. They had struck at the heart of the Empire while their fleet was away. One advisor said quietly, "The civilian population is demanding we withdraw. They're threatening riots if we don't protect them." His hands shook with rage. He had 5,000 ships. He could destroy Theta Station. But his people were hostages now. He made the hardest decision of his military career. All ships cease fire, withdraw from Theta Station immediately, set course for Prime. The fleet began to retreat. The humans watched in amazement as thousands of enemy ships turned and fled. "Did we win?" an officer asked. "Yes," Captain said, hardly believing it. "The humans won." At Prime, Commander received confirmation that the fleet was withdrawing. He opened a channel to the High Command. "This is Commander of the United Earth Forces. Your fleet is retreating. Good. Now let's talk about peace." The leadership appeared on his screen, their faces filled with fear and anger. You threatened our civilians." "Yes, just like you attacked colonies and threatened their civilians," said calmly. "We didn't kill anyone who wasn't a military target. We could have destroyed your cities. We could have slaughtered billions. We didn't. Do you know why?" They said nothing. "Because unlike you, we have limits. We don't commit genocide. We protect the innocent, even enemy innocents." Leaned forward. "But make no mistake, if you ever threaten if you ever attack any of humanity's friends, we will return, and next time we won't be so gentle." The High Command understood. They had faced humanity's military might and found it overwhelming. These humans could have destroyed their civilization but chose mercy instead. It was a lesson more powerful than any battle. "What are your terms?" the leader asked. "Withdraw from all territory, sign a non-aggression treaty, pay reparations for the damage you caused, and never ever threaten peaceful species again." His expression hardened. "Break this peace, and humanity will show you what real war looks like." They agreed to everything. The war ended not with a grand battle, but with fear. Fear of what humanity could do. Fear of these monsters from the called Earth. Commander's fleet returned to Theta Station as heroes. They celebrated their survival. But when met with Captain one final time, her expression was complicated. "You saved us," she said. "But the methods you used, threatening billions of civilians, attacking there, was it right?" "Right is complicated," said. "We didn't kill civilians. We could have, but we didn't. We used fear instead of slaughter. Is that wrong?" "I don't know," admitted. "War is never clean, Captain, but we ended this one with minimal casualties. They will think twice before attacking anyone again, and your people are safe." He paused. "Sometimes monsters are needed to stop worse monsters." As the human fleet prepared to depart, they erected a monument at Theta Station. A statue of a human soldier in armor, weapon raised, protecting smaller figures behind them. The inscription read in multiple languages. "When we faced extinction, we called for help. Earth answered with warriors from a world that tried to kill them every day. They brought the fury of survival itself. Let the galaxy remember, humanity protects its friends." The human ships left space, but they left behind more than just victory. They left knowledge, tactics, the understanding that peace sometimes requires the willingness to fight. Captain watched the human fleet disappear into faster-than-light travel. Her science officer stood beside her. "Do you think we'll see them again?" he asked. "I hope so," said, "and I hope we never need to. But if we do, if we ever face extinction again, I know who to call." Across the galaxy, the story spread. A peaceful confederation faced annihilation. They called an unknown world for help. That world sent warriors unlike any the galaxy had known. Warriors who fought with brutal efficiency but also honor. Monsters who protected the innocent. 3 words spread through every civilization: don't anger the humans. And when other species faced threats in the years that followed, when peaceful worlds were attacked by aggressors, the call went out: contact Earth. We need the monsters again. And humanity always answered. They came with their terrifying weapons, their brutal tactics, their refusal to give up. They came as monsters to some, as saviors to others. But they always came, because that's what humans did. When someone called for help, when someone faced extinction, when someone needed protection, humanity answered. They had learned hard lessons on their brutal. They had evolved as predators and prey. They had developed the capacity for terrible violence. But they had also developed something more important: the willingness to use that violence to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. The galaxy had called for help. Earth had answered with monsters. And those monsters had become legends.